Hi everybody, this is Mr. Zoeller, and today I'm going to be bringing you a screencast on the end of the Civil War. So first let's look at the Wilderness Campaign. So on the picture here we have Ulysses S Grant, the general of the Union Army. So first thing we're looking at is that you as a student can describe the elements of total war and then how General Sherman applied them to the war in Georgia and South Carolina. In late 1863, Lincoln transferred command to General Ulysses S. Grant for the entire Union Army. In early 1864, Grant forced Lee to fight in a series of battles in Virginia that stretched the Confederate soldiers to breaking point. From May to June, the Union Army launched the Wilderness Campaign, which was a series of battles designed to capture the Confederate capital at Richmond, Virginia. Remember, that was step 3 of the Anaconda Plan. Grant suffered twice as many casualties as Lee, but he could get reinforcements while Lee could not. So Grant, however, was not able to capture Richmond, Virginia. So this failure was especially discouraging to Lincoln. So kind of think about here, why would Grant have been able to get more soldiers while Lee could not? So think about to the strengths and weaknesses of the North and South beginning of the war to answer that question. So on the left here we have General Ulysses S. Grant, head of the Union Army. And the right side, we have Robert E. Lee, the head general of the Confederate Army. And so here's a map showing some of those battles of the Wilderness Campaign up in here. So take a minute and pause and take a look at those battles and see where they happened at. Next, we're going to be looking at General Sherman here and a military strategy called total war. So Lincoln needed a victory for the Union Army to help him win re-election in 1864. The bold campaign of General William Tecumseh Sherman provided this key victory. Sherman carried out the Union plan to destroy Southern railroads, farming, and industries. His first goal was to capture the city of Atlanta, Georgia, an important link for the Southern railroads. After months of bloody fighting, Sherman captured Atlanta on September 2, 1864. Much of the city was destroyed by artillery and fire. Sherman ordered the residents who still remained to leave. He then systematically destroyed the rest of the city. Responding to his critics, Sherman later wrote, "War is war and not popularity seeking." The loss of Atlanta cost the South an important link and its center of industry. For Lincoln, the capture ensured his re-election. You need some goldfish? Okay, in just a minute, okay? Okay. Sherman did not wait long to begin his next campaign. His goal was the port city of Savannah, Georgia. In mid-November, Sherman led 60,000 men from Atlanta across Georgia with the aim of making Georgia howl. During his march to the sea, Sherman practiced total war. So what is total war? So ordering his troops to destroy everything in their path in an effort to wreck the South's ability to fight. Any plantation was destroyed and its slaves freed. By the time he reached Savannah, Sherman had left a 60-mile-wide trail of destruction behind him. His march weakened the Confederacy, but also created anger and resentment that would last for generations. So any crops, fields, cattle that the Union Army did not require, they would end up destroying. So this is more of an attack on the civilian population than the army. So when the picture here shows Sherman practicing total war, so kind of take a look at that and see what's going on.
Sherman calls it total war, a scorched earth approach.
So here's some pictures, some drawings from Atlanta, Georgia. And then here are photographs that were taken of Atlanta after General Sherman and the Union Army marched through and burnt the city. So here's what's left of a railroad train yard. And then you can see the tracks dismantled here and the trains destroyed, and all that's left are the wheels that are there. And lastly, we're going to take a look at the surrender of the South. So this picture here is a drawing of the March of Union soldiers in Washington, D.C. So for our objective, you should be able to summarize the reasons for the surrender of the Confederate forces under General Lee. So by April 1865, Grant had surrounded Lee's army, which was running low on supplies. Robert E. Lee tried to break through the Union lines to escape, but he failed. On April 9, 1865, Lee surrendered to Grant in the small town of Appomattox Courthouse in Virginia. And so this is officially going to end the war. And so here's a picture of Robert E. Lee, the Confederate Army, signing the surrender documents, and Ulysses S. Grant over here of the Union Army. So this painting symbolizes kind of the end of the war between the Union and the Confederacy. So what were the surrender terms? So Ulysses S. Grant allowed Lee's soldiers to keep their horses and to leave for their homes. And he also stopped his own soldiers from cheering their own victory. In regards to that, this is, remember, Americans attacking other Americans. So President Abraham Lincoln wanted General Grant to make sure that the terms of surrender were fair and lenient and forgiving. He did not want to punish the South. The South had already lost a lot of their land, many of their people, and so President Lincoln wanted forgiveness and let them come back in easily. So here's you can see a kind of a sign about the end and some dances afterwards, and a victory here, the Union being brought back together. And then here's a photograph of the Union Army marching through Washington, D.C. that we saw earlier with that drawing. So what's the impact of the war? Almost 750,000 Americans lost their lives during the 4 years of fighting. 1 in 10 men of military age in the entire country had been killed. Another 300,000 men had suffered from horrific wounds. The defeat of the South ended slavery, however, most former slaves had no jobs or homes. Over the next 10 years, millions would suffer from hunger and disease in the chaos of the post-war South. Lastly, a tremendous amount of hostility also remained between the North and the South.